Okay. Hey, welcome everybody. Welcome in. Welcome in. Hey, Jack, how you doing? Yeah, I was hoping that you and Nikki would, you and or Nikki would be able to make it. Glad that you guys are here. Fantastic. All right. So I think we are ready to go. So hello to everybody that's here. Uh, Let me turn up the gain on my mic a little bit, Ilk. Let me bring this up. Thanks, Shadow Wolf. Welcome in. Is that a little better,
Yeah.
Ilk? Yeah, I had to bring the gain up on my mic some. All right. Fantastic. Everything should be working now. So, all right. Thank you, everyone that's joining us. Everybody here on, let's see, I got to actually check. So, yeah, we're live on Facebook. Facebook is working. We're all good to go. Fabulous. Welcome in, everybody. And thank you for joining us for this artist showcase with Joms Luckett. This is our third artist showcase, and I've actually been working for ages to set this up with Joms, so I'm glad she could finally join us. And for those that don't know, and I'm going to actually, because I managed to close my window while Joms talks, I'll pull up some links to post for everybody. But Joms is a multi talented singer, songwriter, multi instrumentalist, graphic designer, video producer, winner of multiple awards for her music, for her animation. She's all over the place, and she has been kind enough to give some of her very valuable time to come and hang out with all of us and talk about her life. So, Joms, please say hello to everybody and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hi, everybody. Once again, thank you all for joining us today. I know it's a Sunday evening or morning for some of you, um, and you've got a lot of places you could be and things you could be doing, but you're here with us, and we really appreciate it. Again, my name is John Luckett, and I am a songwriter, a musician, and a general creative person. And this is something I've been doing since I was a kid. Just introduced to music very early on by my parents, and uh, just kind of hearing, having the fortune of growing up when I did, just having exposure to so many different types of music and art, and something really kind of bubbled up in me from a very young age of just realizing that it was, I think, I don't know, it was, just a natural
Types of
part of who I am. I
music
feel
and
like it's
art.
just like how just wake up hearing music and go to bed thinking about music. So, and music plays a role in a lot of other things that I do too. So, I'm really just doing the best I can to just kind of keep expressing myself and hopefully entertaining people and bringing them joy and comfort and information, through that work. And so, um, that's really all I can say. I'm just really happy to be here and sharing this with you today. And it's just a lifelong passion for me. And it's not even just a passion. It's like I said, I feel like this is what I'm wired to do, even though the world doesn't really isn't kind of wired for this anymore. It's still something I wake up wanting to do every day. So anyway, I appreciate your time for being here, and thank you for joining us today.
And I'm actually just trying to pull a few links together here. One second, sorry.
Okay.
So, and by the way, for everyone watching this, so we are live right now on my Twitch channel. We are live on Joms's YouTube, my YouTube, and my Facebook. So, Joms, I actually would love to ask you a question that I
Yes.
don't know the answer to. I said you're a multi instrumentalist, and I've seen several instruments you play with people. How many instruments do you play?
Uh, that's a good question. No. Um, I mean, I really just ever since I was a kid, like how when I started writing, songs when I was very young. I was probably about 7, 8 years old when I first started writing songs. And at the time, like I pretty much just had like toy instruments and then things that like I would make like with like a Quaker's oatmeal box. And that was my drum set with like sticks and things like that. So it was kind of a process over the years of whatever I could get my hands on, I would just try to just figure it out Most of my music education is purely just picking things out by ear, and then uh, I basically started playing from just playing along to some of like my favorite songs and just picking out notes. Like it started out as a very, it wasn't a magical thing. It was just like picking out little melodies and things like that. And then eventually I started getting into like, oh, this is what a chord is and whatever. So anyway, long story short, I it's kind of just been like whatever I could get my hands on. So I play guitar, bass, drums, saxophone, violin, keyboards, and those are like my main instruments. I would say. I mean, I feel like guitar is my main instrument, but all of those other things are the ones that I probably play the most. Except, and I don't know, like I've tried other things over the years, like trumpet, and it just really depends. It's just like anytime I see uh, an instrument that I can get my hands on. Like I started playing cello like a couple of years ago, and it's just I just love the sound of instruments and just the different textures that they can add. So it's kind of debatable of like what the actual number of instruments that I play is good. And also I feel like it's a varying degrees of, you know, uh competence, you know, but I feel like a lot of my playing is more of like I try to just serve the part, that, of sometimes there might be a particular like you say with soundtracks, there were times where, um, just something special was needed, as particular effect or whatever, and so I would or a particular texture, and so I did a lot of things of, um, learning basically just writing a part, and it wasn't necessarily that I was, like, able to play that instrument in an expert sort of way. It was just more that, like, "Hey, I can there's this melody that I hear, and I'm gonna keep playing that until I can play that particular melody and add that texture to this work," and that's really, what it is, basically. Uh so yeah, whether I play them all well is another question.
Oh, that's always the musician's lament, I think. So you actually got me curious about something. So you mentioned making instruments out of cereal boxes and stuff, and I'm just curious. So one of my favorite blues people has always been Bo Diddley,
Oh,
and that's been
yeah.
a funny thing there of him making guitars out of junk almost.
You know
Is that something that you were ever tempted to do?
yeah, so a lot of my inspiration with that stuff actually comes from a lot of especially a lot of the old blues players and everything. My father was actually born, in Mississippi in a very, uh, sort of impoverished, place, called Canton, Mississippi, and he grew up basically during, you know, Jim Crow South. They moved north to Columbus, Ohio, where I was born. They moved up there, my grandparents and my father and his siblings, they moved up there when he was about, like, 9 years old or something, and so anyway, there's something about connecting with, like, my father's story growing up. It always made me very conscious of a lot of the sort of challenges that people were going through, particularly Black people in the South, during the Jim Crow era, and thinking about how a lot of a lot of, Black people in general have always expressed, um, kind of survived a lot of the craziness of these different situations. And I feel like that's part of my own story in general is like when you're faced with different challenges, basically creative thought is sort of the way forward of dealing with a lot of those things. A lot of great innovations have come about just from people, being resilient and finding another way to be able to express themselves when maybe they didn't have legal rights to do so. So that making that connection between, say, my father's upbringing and then a lot of the things that were going around going on around where he grew up, even before he was born, I really thought a lot about how a lot of those people were making, like, you know, cigar box guitars and the innovations that led to, like, electric guitar distortion and things like that, and so it's always kinda sat with me in a lot of ways, and so even from a very young age, that's part of the story of me starting to write songs and to go down this path of, um, really dealing with a lot of different types of mediums and all that, was not having money and finding a way for me to be able to express myself, and so that's where that came from, and over the years, I've done a lot of things with just dealing with, circuit bending and, even, in the past couple of years, I haven't finished it yet, but I was talking about cello. I've been trying to build a cello-inspired instrument that it's kind of takes inspiration from, say, those cigar box type guitars and the things that, like, Bo Diddley was doing, but I'm taking parts that are some things are, like, made from parts that I got from, like, a thrift store of, like, a wooden
I'm
box that was
trying
a
to build
shelf,
a
a wooden sh
cello-inspired
a
instrument
shelf,
that it's
and cutting that up and trying to put this together with a real cello neck and trying to figure out how can I make this instrument that is, like a nice cross between a cello, um, an electric bass, and but then put in, like, some onboard effects like reverb and that sort of thing. So, anyway, so I don't wanna keep running my mouth to you, but
No,
but
no,
it
that's the whole reason that we're here is to
yeah.
listen to you run your mouth, believe me.
Alright, alright,
Nobody
alright.
nobody's here because I'm pretty.
Yeah, alright. But it's just, that's it. It's just I don't know, that like I said, I'm very much a person that's I love learning, I love experimenting with things. I love just seeing where a question will lead you. So, and like I said, I feel just my own circumstances through life have resulted in me being a person that's very resourceful. And so a lot of that does kind of lead back to that sort of place where I like to um if I don't have access to something, I'm going to find a way. I'll find a way to either get access to it or make something new so that I can at least sort of approximate the feeling that I'm going for. So that's really a key part of everything that I do is just like, hey, if some wall is put up, I'm going to find another way to be able to express myself and exist. So,
Beating down life. By the way, I
yeah.
just want to stop. I don't know why it's not happening, but if anybody is viewing on Facebook, for some reason, anything that you type on Facebook, I see it in the restream chat, but the restream chat is not broadcasting to Facebook, for which I apologize. So you are not seeing anything that gets typed in the group chat, except where it's visible on the screen. But we can see you on Facebook if you type anything. If you care to find me and follow me anywhere, it's really simple. It's at DJ Kid Gorgeous PE, basically everywhere. Facebook, YouTube, um, Twitch, Blue Sky, Kick, and X, all at DJ Kid Gorgeous PE. That's where you can find me. So, and yeah, I would love to have some of you drop by and catch this because obviously, in addition to Joms, I support a lot of independent music, and I'm just gonna give the plug here, not for me, but to come out and support all the independent musicians that I showcase. Right now, if you check my YouTube, in fact, you can see past artist showcases with Jenny Colquitt and Carrie Ann Music. Unfortunately, the Carrie Ann Music is a short because it was a video corruption issue, but there's a long one with Jenny. There'll be a new one of those coming, and hopefully we can have Joms back on again next time she's got a new project to promote. So
Bring it.
yeah, absolutely. So so why art mechanics? Where did the name come
Um,
from?
basically, it's again part of that same thing I was just talking about in terms of just always having to, I don't know, do a lot of different things just to keep going. So I feel like everything that I do is connected in some sort of way because I have to I you know either like I said, sometimes when there's like a different, you know, I've run into a different sort of barrier or whatever with one thing, I kind of had to go down another road to be able to just either make a living or otherwise just to be able to um continue to have a seat at whatever given table I was at the time. And so it's really turned into this thing where um I end up feeling like an octopus sometimes of I have to everybody talks about wearing multiple hats and it's like, well, for me that is true because it's like if I didn't, I would have probably already been in a ditch somewhere without if it's part of like a survival set of just being able to do a lot of different things. So I just needed a um a name like a, production company, a record label, imprint, something like that. I wanted something that would really just kind of represent all of these different arms that no matter what whether I was able to shift into more of a musical direction or if I was doing, software development or um graphics or whatever it is, what all those projects like that particular entity seems, works for all of that. So that's really what it is for me. And I think just the idea of just keeping an open mind in general, where I feel like we've moved into this direction where so many things are about specialists today. And I think there's 100% a place for there to be specialists. We need them in a lot of areas, but there's also something to be said for a person that is a generalist, because I feel like that's the world. That was what the world was really built on of people like say even just go back to say a Leonardo da Vinci or something or Ben Franklin, where these are all people that had a lot of depth to their backgrounds, were interested in a lot of different things, and all the things that we still know and love them for came from their ability to, you know, study multiple disciplines and to integrate those. Those people did not see, "Oh, well, this is music. Oh, and this is art." It's just like that was all part of the same thing for them, but I feel like we've moved in this direction that's very uh backwards where we see everything as like so separate, and to me like they're not, that's all part of the same, whether I'm writing a story or playing a song or doing code, to me that's all part of the same process. And so anyway, that's what art mechanics is for me, is that I wanted to just sort of send that message that um these things aren't separate and they shouldn't be separate. They should all just be seen as different ways of people being, having critical thinking and being creative. And I don't think that a person has to necessarily have an artistic uh, pursuit for them to be creative. I think we as human beings, creativity is basically how we got fire and how we got the wheel and we got the printing press and all these things. So I just hope that one day we can collectively get to a place where the majority of people agree again that there's nothing wrong with having many different interests, and that we could solve greater problems if we, you know, had more of that sort of perspective.
Well, that certainly beats my explanation. I know you and I were talking yesterday about about all of my various and assorted creative pursuits, all the different things I do, and in my case, it's just ADHD. So that's that's my only excuse is all the ADHD. That's what it is with me. Now, on that note, though, you kind of segued into what I was talking about. What you were saying actually led into the next question that I was planning to ask you, which is so you're also all over the place with your musical styles. Most musicians, I mean, though, most musicians have some range, but let's be honest, most musicians absolutely um, tend to focus on one style, and then not in a bad way, but you're all over the place. I mean, I'm actually looking at the Art Mechanics site, and it even says alt rock, classic pop, rock and soul, instrumental, orchestral fusion, post punk, power pops, synth and new wave. You are all over the place. I mean, you're a big time generalist, and for some of my regular listeners, I've played at least 6 or 7 of different ones of Joms' songs in the last few weeks while I've been leading up to this, and you really can cover a massive amount of styles. Was that like a really deliberate choice that you didn't want to get put in a box and you just wanted to stay a generalist?
I think in more recent years, well, but more recent, I would say the last 20 and last 20 years, that it has been more conscious of me just sort of doubling down of like, no, this is who I am, this is what I like. But it started back at that, again, in childhood, of just being introduced to so many different things, like through my parents in particular, where it's like I, grew up with everything from the Beatles to Jimi Hendrix, um, Isley Brothers, the Gap Band, like classical music. I was introduced to like Mozart and Beethoven at a very young age, and Baroque music, Indian ragas. It's like, so I think it's just literally the my actual education in music came from just being exposed to all these different things, and I would hear these different textures that would really just throw my brain. Like one of my sort of epiphanies as a kid, I think, of really becoming like, whoa, what is going on here, was the first time I heard Giorgio Moroder's I Feel Love with Donna Summer, and hearing
Yes.
like that bass line that like, to this day, anytime I hear that song, it just transports me back to when I was like 3 years old, and hearing that song for the first time, of just like, whoa, what is this? And I just get moved by it, and there's so many just interesting things, that different approaches that people have, and different techniques. So there's stuff that I listen to, even things that I don't necessarily religiously listen to, or say I maybe there might be something right now that's out there that, like, I it might not be something I would normally listen to, but I try to still find something to appreciate about everything that I hear. I feel like there's always something to be learned from it. It's just like, oh, well, what technique, what production technique is happening there, or what are they doing with the vocals, or I feel like it just I don't know. I feel like for me, I think that's just how I developed my own sort of voice as a kid, was just not being I didn't have anybody to tell me I couldn't. I didn't have any I there's a lot of people who grew up where their first exposure to music is like being put into lessons where they have to play rote scales, and they have to do all this stuff, which there's valid reasons for that too, having that sort of structure. But for me, there's a lot that I appreciate, that I was allowed to really just sort of discover and connect with music on my own. And I just got to find all these different things that I love about different artists. And I feel like also growing up at a time where the pop music that, say, Gen X grew up with was very different than what there is now. We still had many more artists that were informed by the things that came before it, from, we'll say, from the early 1900s all the way up till, you know, I would say the last heyday of real catchy pop music was probably the 1980s, where I'm talking about really wide ranges. When you're talking about a melodic line, I grew up with music like that, where I was just constantly surrounded by it, and you see it all through jazz, pop, rock, punk, you know, R&B, soul, funk, all this stuff. And so that's why I feel like I couldn't help but just be see it all as almost like a puzzle to figure out, of like, oh wow, what is it about that that makes it click? Why is this stuck in my head? Why is it that I can't shake this. Why is it that that makes me feel the way I feel? And for me, I guess that's all it was. It was that I was really pursuing it, just trying to understand why music made me feel the way it did, and why, you know, I lost my father at a very young age, and that's where the music was my way of dealing with that, of, like, not really having anybody to, like, there was no counseling, there was none of that. It was something I kinda had to process on my own, of dealing with, like, that sort of loss. And I think because of his relationship to me with music, music became the thing that I kind of responded to that with, of just like, it was my way to still almost have my father with me. And I guess through that, I kind of felt like, well, um, I just love the process of just being able to figure out again how music made me feel, but also just when I would write certain things, even as a kid, I started feeling like, wow, I feel so much better. And I also wanted to understand that too. What is it about music that allowed me to, like, release all of this stuff that's really pretty dark and heavy for a young girl? But it brought me such peace. And to this day, like, I still feel very fortunate to have this as an outlet to celebrate, to find comfort and mourn, and to honor people and things like that. So that's really where it comes from. It's just that sort of idea of uh, just being able, basically, the nerd in me, to just sort of study where all this stuff comes from, and why does it have the effect that it does.
So I gotta ask. So we've been talking about your music for about a half hour now.
It's been a
Any
long.
chance that you could play us a song?
I sure will.
So fantastic, Joms. Thank you.
Oh,
So
thank you.
how when was that song written? What era is that song from?
That was from college. It was like that one was probably that particular one was probably written around 95. Um, it was like a couple of years after I started basically what Poperratic became, basically, or what became eventually became Poperratic. So yeah, about 95, I think.
So that actually comes into the next thing I wanted to ask you about. Um, so Poperratic is one of your musical projects, not the only one, but that's been one of your big ones. And you'd actually, from what you told me when we first started talking last year, was that you had retired Poperratic for a while, and then we're bringing Poperratic back.
Yeah.
So, um, so you said that was part of what became Poperratic,
Yeah.
and that's what you're in terms of your musical projects. That's probably would you say I'm correct to say that's what you're best known for?
Yes. Yep. And mostly because of soundtrack. Well, I mean, I would say it's my biggest passion in terms of this particular project, and because of me starting it in college, all the soundtrack stuff came from the relationships that I had in college. Because I went ended up going to USC for I transferred out of Denison University in Ohio, and then ended up out in Southern California at the University of Southern California, where I met a bunch of different filmmakers like Lucky McKee and Ryan Johnson, and people like that um,
Wait,
other
you know
people would know
Ryan
my work.
Johnson,
Yeah, he
and you
lived on the
didn't get to
cinema
do
floor
Star
with us.
Wars? That was
Yeah.
rude.
Yep. Yeah, so Ryan, he lived on the cinema floor. We all lived on the cinema floor together. It was a co-ed dorm floor basically at USC. So there's a number of people that on there that have gone on. So Ryan's cinematographer, Steve Yedlin, he's shot. He's basically shoots all of Ryan's movies. He was on the cinema floor with us. Both of them worked on May. So if you go back and Steve shot May, and Ryan was one of the editors. And there's a whole sort of incestuous thing with all of these people. But that's where all of that sort of began. All of our careers kind of, started and converged right there on that cinema floor. So Chris Sievertson is another person that was on there. He's um, has gone on to do a lot of different things. There's a number of people that lived on that cinema floor that have gone on to some uh, some cool things. There's like people that are now journalists and film critics and authors and all sort of stuff that was there. So some of them I was actually in bands with when we were in college together, and did a lot of the like short films and stuff. Like I was doing stuff with in some of Ryan's films, and that's it. I think I'm getting off track here, but but
So
anyway, that's where all that came from.
I want to loop back to the Poperratic thing because I have another question there. But now I know about this because I looked this up again when we first started talking last year. But could you explain for everybody else what May is?
Yes. Oh yeah. So May is a feature film that we made. It was released officially in 2002, and it was made by my old collaborator, Lucky McKee. He was one of those people that was on that cinema floor. And actually, the project of May itself was born there at USC. And I actually played the original May in a series of short films that he did back then. And so we worked through a few different sort of iterations of like what that character was going to be and what the story was. And eventually, shortly after the USC days were over, Lucky got a chance to produce the actual full length feature film of it. And it came out and went to premiered at the Sundance Film Festival that year, and then was later picked up by Lionsgate for release. And so it didn't really get a whole lot of support from the studio at the time. So it showed limited run in theaters in the United States. We actually had more success overseas. I've heard that it was actually showing in different places, like in throughout Europe and elsewhere.
So
And
you're like
so
Jerry Lewis. You're big in France.
basically, and so it basically it's gotten what people refer to as a cult following over the years. But it's basically like it's really like a sweet sort of, we always call it more of like a fairy tale. It's like a fantasy. It gets thrown into, it's a horror film too. Like, I mean, that's what it's mostly classified as, but I see it as more as like a really dark fantasy film. It's based kind of loosely based on the story, Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, and it's really a story that a lot of people identify with in terms of, she's just a girl that's really in search of companionship, and she's just trying to become comfortable with herself and make connections. And so I don't want to ruin it, and just in case anybody has never seen it and wants to check it out, but it's just like it's a different take on the Frankenstein story, but it's also a story about a sort of an outsider that's trying to just make human connection. So but yeah, but anyway, that's I, you know, started out because of my having been in bands with Lucky throughout our USC days, um, and doing like some music for some of his stuff when we were in school. It was kind of agreed upon that, well, as he was writing this story, that like, hey, if I ever get a chance to make this
Started
into a
out.
feature, I want
It was
you to
kind
do
of
the
agreed
music for it. And so
upon that,
when
well, as he
he
was writing
got a
this
chance to
this
do that, that's how I got him. Got on board with doing that. And so anyway, that's what people know me for. At the time, I was still operating as Alien Temple Experiment 13, and I was also known as J. Barnes Luckett at the time. That's a whole other story. But um, so anyway, basically, a lot of the songs that are still considered Poperratic songs today, they started out as these 813 songs. And a lot of people, I would say the majority of people, probably know my work from that film, and then other projects that I've done with Lucky, like The Woods. That was like an MGM thing with like Bruce Campbell and Patricia Clarkson, and then Masters of
I
Horror.
I
Yeah.
love Bruce. I have met Bruce a couple of times in person. I'm a huge fan. He's like the coolest guy. I'm so jealous you
Yes.
got to work with him. I would
Y
kill to work with him.
Yeah. He actually prank called me when I was in the when I was in the studio working on the choir tracks for The Woods. Lucky actually put him up to prank calling me. So I can't remember how it happened, but just got a phone call in that studio. We were in this place called Paramount Studios in Hollywood, and I ended up getting this phone call, and I forgot what he was. It's just slipping my mind, but anyway, he played a very hilarious but cruel joke on me, and but anyway, ended up having some really great laughs, and he really is a great guy.
I'm trying to actually do something in the background. So, for my people, and I'm had just like fighting with too many different things back here. Uh, we will probably be doing May for a movie night in the Discord.
Oh, cool.
I will see if Joms can put up links for her people later. If any of you are interested in
Yeah.
joining and you are Discord users, I do have a Discord and we do movie nights. And I would love to actually have May come on and Joms, if you're on Discord, I would love to have you actually come in and be able to do like live commentary while we're doing the movie,
Yep.
because that's
So I'm
that
on this.
we can't do that on Twitch, but we can do that on Discord.
Yep. Count
So
me in.
we did Alice Cooper's 1976 Welcome to My Nightmare special that he did with Vincent Price for our last movie night. And if you've never seen that, they basically did every song from Welcome to My Nightmare plus one song from Alice's previous album, and they did a full stage production of the album as a musical. One
Oh
time,
man.
one night on ABC. Like some executive at ABC decided that would be a good idea. Absolutely bonkers stuff. So, I will say I love, you and I were talking a bunch about this yesterday. I love that we've got all of these online platforms where we have the opportunity to be able to share all this stuff. So, you were talking about the Donna Summer song "I Feel Love," and it's funny because one of the things that we do when I do the music on my show is we don't play radio edits most of the time. We'll play full versions of songs, and
Oh
I've got the 6.5 minute version of that song, and I love when I have listeners in, and I get to oh, we have a special guest. This
ooh,
is
we got.
Sasha the stream cat. She just decided to jump up here and thankfully missed the keyboard. If you're listening to the show here and at any point everything goes crazy, she smacked the keyboard. She's known for that. But yeah, like, so I love getting to have people on who've never heard songs like that except for the radio edits, and then you play like the full 6.5 minute version, and people are just like, oh. So which is why I also love getting to have people like you on and get to do the versions of the song the way they're meant to be heard. So
Yeah, yeah. There's
going back to
another.
talking
Yeah.
about your stuff. So talking about the Poperratic thing. So how many? So besides Poperratic, what are the other musical personas? How many are there that have been really in focus?
So that's changed over the years. I basically have gone through a process. I'm still basically in this process now of starting to split these things back out into their own separate entities. For a while, I tried it where I was just like, maybe things are too disjointed and it's making things harder to find. And that there was some truth in that. So I basically started putting everything under my name. But the problem with that is just that we're in this sort of algorithmic era of like when I was like on Spotify and things like that, it was like impossible for a lot of people to really find my work or to really make a connection with it because everything is so focused on dumping people into random singles and stuff. So you come in and say you're a rock fan and you come in and you hear me doing this electronic stuff or you hear me doing this sort of orchestral piece or whatever, you don't necessarily know that you would connect with Poperratic or I I think in the end I really think people are eclectic, that they have eclectic taste, but it's just the way that the discovery process happens with a lot of these platforms. I think it makes it very difficult for somebody to really know, to really truly explore an artist to see, oh, yeah, maybe that particular track isn't my thing, but wow, they do other things. Or just in general, just I feel like a lot of the way that we used to have, like, say, the old MySpace or the old mp3.com or something, you could go to an artist's page and you would see, say, the first 4 tracks that that artist wanted to highlight about themselves, and then you could just see, you know, certain other collections of albums or whatever. But now it's a lot harder to do that. So anyway, my point is that I had to sort of go back to parting out all of these different acts. So there's, in addition to Poperratic, I also have One Cut Mercury, and that started out as kind of a joke where it was I just wanted to see what what the reaction would be. But it's basically me with like a my really truly masking my voice and doing this sort of like, I don't know, like dark electronic new wave sort of thing as this character called Merc Shanley. And then I have Thrill Harmonic, which is more of it's got a rock sort of feel to it, but it's very orchestral driven. And then I have one called Regard Neuf, which is um, stuff that's more kind of, if you like Portishead, like that sort of um almost in the vein of like maybe like a trip hop, but just definitely like a more moody sort of vibey electronic music. That's what that is. I can't even remember. Oh, Sister Transistor. That's sort of like the flip side of Popperatic, but it's almost like if Popperatic was just in the 60s. And like what that band would be. So there's a my Sister Transistor, you find a lot more sort of very like vintage inspired things. So to be more super unapologetic classic pop, like British Invasion, Motown, soul music, like everything that you would hear from 1940s to the 1970s pretty much is what Sister Transistor is. So, I think those are it.
And by the way, I apologize everybody for the continuing coughing. I worked on a real life gig yesterday, and I was working without amplification, and I was shouting to people for 6 hours over music, so my throat is raw. That's why I keep coughing. So I
Oh,
apologize to everybody for that. So where's the line between John Luckett and Popperatic? I mean, to what extent? I'm thinking of a great musical example of, John Fogerty was CCR basically, to the point that when he quit CCR and went solo, the record company tried to sue him, saying that he sounded too much
uh,
like the band and that they owned the band, not him. And
oh man.
as a famous story, I don't know if people know this or not. I wish that there was a recording. If this is if you could go back in time and make a recording. Basically, Fogerty got up on the stand in civil court and played a 2 hour show with his guitar to show that, of course, the music sounded like him because he wrote all the music, but that the record company couldn't claim ownership of him
Yeah.
because that would be slavery effectively.
Yeah.
And now he's actually out doing like a revival of CCR stuff. So I mean,
I
sometimes
didn't know that.
there's that's a really new thing he's doing. Like just now,
Wow.
there's such a close identification sometimes between a band and an artist. Where's the line between,
Hmm.
where does Popperatic start and Joms end and vice versa?
Hmm. That's a good question. um I don't know. I mean, I feel like that's where all these other outlets are for. It's just kind of like these different sides of myself that um, there are times where, you know, for whatever reason, I'm maybe even just like the circumstances of like where I'm living or something. If I couldn't, it was easy. There were periods of times where say it was just a lot easier for me to do say electronic based music just because of like say the living situation. I was in a place where there was super thin walls or something like that. I had to constantly just like work through like headphones or whatever and couldn't. I normally had to do that anyway, but say recording vocals was a greater challenge. So sometimes I had to shift more into like electronic just because it's like, all right, this is what I have the ability to do right now. Like in terms of recording, it's a lot easier to do. Um, I don't know. It's hard to say because I just feel like there's just different things where I just get inspired by so many different things, and in that moment um, it's just hard it's just really hard to separate, I think, because I also just feel like I said, just in life, I'm just interested in so many different things, and I really just love the process of learning. So like in recent years, like I've really shifted to studying more of James Jamerson from the he's basically when you hear some of the tastiest bass lines you've ever heard in Motown music, 9 times, well, I'll say maybe 8 times out of 10, you were listening to James Jamerson's bass lines. And that's somebody that, like, I just just starting to focus on his bass lines has, like, introduced me to that music in a whole different way, like, I see it in a totally different way, and appreciate it even deeper level than I ever had before, so it's kind of like I don't know, I don't even know how you can it's hard to say how I can separate it from myself because I just feel like all of it is a part of my whole story of like how I learn and how I feel things, how I respond to the world, and all of it's important to me. So there are times where I start working on something where it seems like, okay, I think this is kind of a Poperratic song or something like that, but it ends up having a total it comes out totally different where it's just like, "Oh, I didn't plan on putting a whole bunch of orchestral stuff in there, but there it is." So I guess that's gonna be a totally different song. So, um, I don't know. That's a good question though, but I don't think I have an
So
elegant answer to that.
so I have a so this is interesting as I want to ask you about this. I know when we had Jenny Colquitt on, Jenny Colquitt, when she started her musical career, you said you watched her interview, so you started talking about this. She started out with a band called Eli, and then just decided she liked being in charge too much, and she still plays the Eli songs, which she basically wrote all of, but she went solo, and she has session people that play with her for gigs and all now. So she'll go out with full bands when she's not doing like solo shows. In your case, with all with all the moving around with all the different projects that you've done, have you actually had like a solid Poperratic lineup, or has it just been like you and whoever is or for any of your other projects too? Has it been just you and then session people, or do you have solid lineups of people you try to have always be with you for that project, or how does that work?
So, I'm glad you brought that up because that I guess that's part of the answer to your last question was that I have always like, I've always had always hoped that that this would become like a full-blown band. Like that's why one of the reasons why I just chose like this name as opposed to just like, oh, it's just this John Luckett thing. Why I was trying to I put basically create band names was that my idea was that I just always assumed that like I would one day run into people that would want to join in a band and that it wouldn't be the focus wouldn't be just me and like a lot of the bands that I love, it's just like there's always like more than one songwriter like involved, like Pixies, not always, but some of them like Pixies, Smiths, Beatles, like things like that. There's that contingent, but then you also have sort of solo people like Prince or um Trent Reznor, like Nine Inch Nails, like that sort of thing. So there's this I've always seen that, like, okay, there's room for that. I've seen people, there's ways that you can carry on and do this by yourself. But I've always had some sort of hope in the back of my mind that it would become a group thing. And so I have worked with session musicians on like soundtrack stuff, and that was pretty much there really wasn't a budget for it, but just was more of a thing. It was a necessary thing in the sense of okay, they've literally given me like 10 cents to work on this and the schedule is such a breakneck pace. There's not enough time for me to really be able to do every single like layer myself or whatever. So other musicians were brought in for on those in terms of just out of necessity because my thing is I didn't really want to have session musicians. I wanted to just meet people that I was going to have an actual band with and that we would start to share co-writing duties, maybe switch instruments and who's singing and things like that. I always love bands that do that. So anyway, haven't had that. And recently I was trying to get back out and plan shows and everything. And so I did have that particular show didn't come to fruition, but my friend Tim Nordquist, if you're out there, shout out to you. Tim Nordquist, and there was a musician from Brooklyn named Sugumi, who's pretty awesome. And those are people that were going to go out and play shows with me. So that's where I'm at now. Is I'm just like, I keep feeling like the way that the so many things are sort of splintered, and it's been harder for me to really connect with other musicians in that way, because I feel like a lot of people see another independent as competition rather than somebody you can collaborate with. And because I've put out feelers for years, always trying to look for people to play with, and it's just never happened. So I feel like what I'm probably going to do going forward is more of a thing. If the financial piece comes together, I probably will start to. If that comes together, I may start to bring in more guest musicians, but only under the condition that it's a. I just would like to. I would like there to be consistency in the music. Like I don't. That's what I was talking about with the soundtracks. I don't really want to work with somebody generally where you're working on this whole entire album and then you never play on anything else again. Like I don't want that. Like I really want true collaborators that, hey, we click and let's keep working together. But that's just, at least for me, it's been very hard to find that. So anyway, I don't want to be a solo artist, honestly. but if I just but if I didn't, I wouldn't be able to express myself. It's my way forward.
And I apologize because I should have done this before we did that segment, and I wasn't paying attention to the time. And I have to really apologize to the YouTube and Facebook people for this, but
Oh.
we have actually run over a
Oh.
hard ad break on Twitch. That means that anybody coming in would have to sit through 3 minutes of ads, and I don't want to kill
Oh,
the Twitch
shoot.
audience completely. In
Okay.
fact, it looks like we may have actually had an ad kick in on Twitch because it looks like we killed some viewers there, which I apologize for because I meant to run an
Oh,
ad break
shoot.
before we lost any viewers. But I am going to have to run a 2 minute ad break for the Twitch people. Facebook and YouTube people, you're not going to see it. Normally, I run music for that. In this case, we're just going to have to sit here and jabber about nothing important for 2 minutes. So
Okay.
I apologize. I hope everybody will be patient for this. But that's the only way to keep my Twitch people from getting stuck with having to watch stupid ads.
Oh, man. I think I can
Yeah, the
play
perils
a
of capitalism. There, we are all subject to the perils of capitalism. And Ember's got a question for you for when we come
Oh,
back from there.
okay.
So you can be not bad. Actually, it's funny, what you were just talking about. I know there's like a bunch of bands that I follow and some of the stuff that we play on the show, Mad Routine or Halocene and all. Like a lot of them did like during COVID, and I don't know if you ever thought about this, was taking advantage of these streaming platforms. Was they would all sit in their living rooms from wherever they are, and they would play, and they would all play from the individual things all together on stream, kind of like with you being on here now. And then when COVID was over, and then now like around like when they're not touring, that's how they get together. Like
Ah,
Mad Routine, the singer lives in New York, and then the guitar player lives in California. So they come together whenever they can for in-person gigs, and other than that they play online, and they because that way they can be together without having to be close. I don't know if you've ever thought about doing something like that to like connect with the other musicians and say, hey, let's take advantage of this virtual space, because with the platforms, I mean, people can sit there and chip in music, or chip in money for you when they're listening to the music, and that can be a
yeah.
great way to build with the band. I don't know if you've ever thought
Yeah.
about that.
I mean, it's just a matter of meeting. I guess that's the thing. I guess I need to figure out what platforms or what needs to happen for me to meet people who want to do that. Because that's, like I said, I've been, I don't know, I've responded to ads, I've put out ads, I've done all sorts of things, but it's just kind of like I don't know, that's it, it's just never worked out, so I definitely am interested in doing that, so, um, it's a good reminder to not, to look into it again.
By the way, so we are back from the ad break on Twitch, which that gives us another 40 minutes before we take another ad break. But for the people on Twitch, so there was just a little bit of chatter in the background while we were out on break. The recording, the VOD recording, does not record the commercials. So when we do the rerun tonight during Music Melange, and then when this is up later, you'll get to hear anything that John said during the commercials. So speaking of, before we jumped out to that commercial, Ember said, I have a question for John. What stories do you enjoy telling through your music?
Um, that's a good question. Um, I feel like a lot of the running theme that there is through it, because a lot of my songs are not necessarily fully, like, autobiographical, in terms of, like, this thing specifically happened to me. Sometimes it's really just, like, observing what, just I think that the running theme is human behavior of just kind of uh there is definitely a lot of shades of, like, telling stories about, you know someone that's just sort of looking from, observing, like, from the outside, a lot of things, of just I guess the complexities and the nuances that there are to human behavior, human relationships, that sometimes, even in a context of a particular song, I don't always try to, if even if I'm writing about something that might be more of like a heartache situation, or someone's like in isolation or whatever, oftentimes I try not to write it where it's just this one perspective. It's I sometimes do things where the perspective actually shifts through the course of the song. Like, the story may have started out from this one perspective, or the narrator having this particular opinion, but by the end of the song, that there's some sort of realization of, like, okay, I'm not going to just sit there and take that, or I'm going to do something about it, or I've changed my mind, or you know, um, I've had there's songs I have where, say, there's one called Masochist that a lot of people like, where it starts off where it's this very sort of almost like a dark song of someone that's just kind of beat up by life and feeling very isolated and defeated in all of this, and just trying to, like, navigate, almost wanting to give up on everything. But by over the course of the song, it kind of deals with this person kind of facing those sort of, like, demons that are holding them down. And by the end of the song, it's a person you starting to see, like, a little peak of hope of, like, huh, there's this one person that kept, in the narrator, there's a person that they kept observing that's trying to reach out to them, and they had been resistant the whole time. So by the end of the story, you see that there's a glimmer of hope that this person is actually reaching out and is actually expressing, like, love for another human being. They're not just sitting in misery, but now just embracing love. And so you get a little bit of a hope that, oh, like, this might actually have a happy ending for this person. So I try not to necessarily always. There are times where I write things that are very more 60s inspired, where it can be a lot more simplified, and it's just about, like, love, or some inanimate object or something like that. Um but the stuff that I think is most personal to me are these things that just deal with people just trying to I think it's my own story, and in that sense it is autobiographical, of, like, just trying to find your place in the world, and just trying to connect with people, and not always understanding, like, why people do what they do. And I think that that's, for me, songwriting is almost like therapy of, like, I'm constantly confused by what a lot of people choose to do, and it's allowed me to really process of just, like, okay, everybody has something that they're going through. You don't always know everybody's story. And so, um, the best you can do is just try to have, like, empathy for them, and some understanding. So anyway, that's what I would say, is just basically it just has to do with um, just human connection. Just like um, it's probably the most constant theme.
Well, Ember, if that didn't answer your question, feel free to let us know. And I know Ilk said that they've got a couple of questions, but I'm thinking if you've got a minute here, this might be a good time to take another little song break. Okay,
Okay.
actually, then we'd and Ember wants to throw a follow up, and then we'll get a song break, and we'll come back and get Ilk's question in.
Okay. You
Cool.
want to go ahead and to the song now? You said.
Yeah, I'd love to do another song. We'll
Okay.
come back and we'll get Ilk's question. And if anybody else has any other questions, this would be a good time to go ahead and line up in your chat. I've seen there's at least a couple people watching on Facebook as well as YouTube, and a decent
Okay.
little crowd here on Twitch. So while John plays this song, if you all want to get up any questions for her, she can answer them when we come back from the song.
Okay. And I wanted to do a
And of
quick
course,
shout
we'll be
out.
in John's YouTube chat as well, of course.
And then speaking of which, I saw my mom is here, so I want to give my mom a shout
Oh,
out. And I think
hi,
this is the
Mom.
first. Yeah, hi, mommy. I think this is the first time my mom seen me play, and so it's really sweet of her
There's a
to be
couple.
here.
Just
Thank
there's a
you.
couple of the other musicians that I regularly listen to, where their moms are like regulars in their chat. So it's like you and I were talking about the whole mom thing last night. So that's always cool. Yeah. All right. So we got a couple of questions in the crowd here. So Ilk said before we jumped out to that, I'll assume I can actually scroll back since it decided to choke on me. Um. So of course my chat decided to go out. Let's see. Hold on a
Oh
second.
no.
Um. So Ilk said, uh, "Are there any memorable Is there a memorable anecdote or moment that was part of the creative process in one or any of your projects that you could share with us, like a
Oh.
particular thing that spurred stuff?"
Hmm. Oh man. That is a man. Ooh, you're stumping me. Let me think about that for a second. Um. Let's see. Hang on here. Uh, hmm. I don't know. I just feel like every little thing is just kind of this like a lot of times like I'm just feeling so grateful that I get a chance to when there's a moment where and I can actually like really focus on music and be able to knock something out. It's almost like a lot of times I feel like I'm sort of racing against the clock in terms of just trying to have those moments of peace, where I can really uh, the luxury of really being able to focus on music for a period of time. So it doesn't it I used to be very um a lot more prolific in the sense of, you know, I literally would back in the days of like when I was making like 4-track albums and cassettes and stuff like that. That it was a much more complicated process to actually make those things. But back then I was like a college student, so outside of school, I had all the time in the world to just be able to make music, and so I literally was probably made like 4 full-length albums a year with, uh, just cassettes, and I constantly write that much still in terms of the ideas and capturing things, but the actual being able to have the luxury to really finish something, fully, it doesn't happen as often anymore. So for me, I think it's just there's not so much of like anecdotes that I can really think of. It's just kind of like I definitely feel like I still get that sort of feeling I had as a young girl in terms of um, just being super excited about music, just really excited to about the process of like, man, it feels so good to be able to do this thing, you know. So that's really it. I feel like every time I am working on something, I just still try to find some sort of childlike joy in it, I guess, of just being appreciative that I have even any tools to be able to make the stuff, and just how much like technology has come a long way, and even just like my studying of like I've gotten better at production over the years too, so being able to represent my stuff a lot better too, where it's like not just these like lo-fi, the things are sounding better, and I've gotten better at like drums and stuff like that, and have had situations where I've actually had access to a drum kit and stuff like that. So that's really it. It's just more of this thing where I just feel so grateful when I'm able to actually have the time and the space and the resources to record.
So Foofer actually asked a question in your chat that played into something I was planning to do. So
Uh-huh.
let me adjust my window here a little bit. So Foofer asked about the video for 0 Hour. And
Ah,
I've actually had played the video for 0 Hour on my stream a couple of times. And because we are doing this on YouTube and Facebook, we're going to have the volume up enough where people can hear it, but not where it's dominating. And we are going to have to talk over it. But I would love to be able to play a little bit of the video, and you can answer Foofer's question about how it came about, kind of what was the thing behind it, and I would love for you to tell us a little bit about what, from your perspective, is happening, and what this video is about and what's going on here.
definitely. So hi Foofer, hi Vlad. Those guys, those two have been around this Poperratic universe for a long time. So I'm really happy to see you here. Also, Gary, Michael, like so many. There's a lot of people that have been here for a long time and found me through like May and stuff. So it's good to see you guys here. Um, so the
Put
Zero
this on
Hero
low in the
came.
background. Hey, let me get the volume. Let me get
Oh,
the
that's all
volume
right.
down low enough where it's not
Okay.
dominating too much.
Um, so the original song of Zero Hero was written. I actually wrote it for a short film. I was working as a researcher at a .com company in the early 2000s. There was a guy there who was a filmmaker, and he was working on a short about superheroes, and he needed like a theme song. So I was just like, oh, let me give you. I'll write something for you. So I went home and knocked this thing out for him. Again, I was only working with like 4 tracks back then. But I gave him the song, and he was just like, what is this?" Like he was totally like disgusted by this song, and it's really the version of Zero Hero that you know now. It was just recorded a little bit more. Is it literally? It's the same drum machine, the same part. I used the same exact thing. It just had me just the vocals were recorded with a 4 track. That's the only thing that's actually different about it. And so anyway, long story short, um, I ended up dusting that one off probably like yeah, man, it was like a little somewhere around the time that May was done. I actually recorded the bass line with Zach Wild's bass. I was in the studio with Dave Lopez, who was an engineer that I was working with, and he somehow we ended up in a studio, and Zach Wild's bass was there, and I didn't have a bass, so we had to borrow it. So the bass on that, and there was another song called Comrade Conrad that we actually recorded that day, and it basically, I didn't have access to a drummer, so the drum machine was there, and I that's what that recording is. So eventually we ended up putting that in Masters of Horror Sick Girl, the episode Sick Girl on Showtime, and that's how a lot of other people came to know that before the album of Vegas the Wandering Nerve came out. And so anyway, long story short, that came out. That was like literally like 20 years ago. And in the recent years, I kept noticing, like, it's just like, man, like I feel so disconnected from people right now. And I see a lot of people are, have good reason to be upset and fearful and uncertain and all these things. And I just wanted to do something to bring some joy. And I was like, I don't have the ability to really, I don't really have like a really big platform or anything like that where I can really connect with people and inspire them or do anything like that. So I was just like, what do I have sitting there that could possibly be used to just like bring some joy to people? So I was like, let me just, I thought about Zero Hero and how it's made a lot of people happy. So I said, let me just go ahead and I want to make a video with that. And again, with lack of resources in general, I was just like, well, animation has always been a way for me to be able to make films without having access to a huge budget and without a crew or anything like that. So it's just like all animation needs now, like when you have software, is all you just need time. And so I was like, I have time. I'm going to just sit down. I'm going to make a video for that. And I just really want to bring joy to people. So the story of behind that is like I basically just sort of followed kind of the narrative of the song itself, of this idea that it is every single one of us, especially today, so many people look for external validation and look for a hero in somebody else, and it's like you are your hero. You have the power to within certain limits, of course, but you ultimately have the ability to control what you feed yourself in terms of inspiration and um learning new things, and whether you want to experiment and try. So of course there's sometimes things we have constraints where we can't do everything what we want, but I feel like to some extent we can push ourselves to try more things. So that's really it with this story. Was like I wanted to play around with the idea that you know with the song, there's a side of me is inside of me, and this idea that you see what appears to be two characters, but it really is one person. It's like one person basically just trying to discover their inner strength and just trying to find a way to be strong enough to pull themselves out of whatever challenges that they're experiencing. So that's really where that came from. Was just I just wanted to put something out there to just hopefully speak to somebody and hopefully inspire somebody to just believe in themselves a little bit more, or to at least just hold on and be optimistic about um knowing that we're all, many of us are in the same boat, and we all don't have to be an island. Like there's people that know what you're going through, and we'll get through all this together somehow.
Shadow Wolf had actually asked over on your YouTube side, says it's awesome. So many of your projects are being reinvigorated. Is there any chance of I guess I guess it's Duxo. I'm not sure how you
Oh,
pronounce it.
duo. You
Duo. Okay, I
know,
wasn't sure how you
yeah,
pronounce it. Come back with Spilkus, either new music
yeah.
or reshoots of older releases like you're doing with Poperratic.
I wish that so Duo was a project I had with my buddy Spilkis. He's an amazing composer and electronic musician, and just an amazing person. We actually reconnected starting like a couple of years ago, and I think there was at some point I remember him talking about potentially doing something with Duo again, but so far nothing has happened. I would love that actually. I really had fun working with him. That's actually one of the rare collaborations that I've had of like with another musician. But we pretty much formed that strictly for the purpose of like we were making things to like pitch to TV shows and things like that. So we got a bunch of placements with that music, and that's where those albums really came from. Was just like, all right, let's write a bunch of stuff that they might place in shows and whatever, just because we were trying to find new ways to make a living. So anyway, that's a project I would love to be able to do more with that, but I'm not sure. I don't know if that will happen though.
I know you and I were talking about the whole AI thing last night, and that's like it's funny. I always appreciate those memes that go around saying that like this whole idea that AI was going to free us up from the drudgery of life so that we could focus on arts and creative pursuits. And instead, everybody's trying to use AI to free us up from making art to force us to do more drudgery. It's like
Yep.
no, no, this is backwards. This is backwards. And Ilk asked over in your YouTube chat, are there any music albums that might have inspired you or might have been an influence for your music?
Yeah, definitely. There, I mean, again, and I guess I focus more on the Poperratic thing. There's a lot of stuff that, um, ground zero for me was like Sergeant Pepper. Or actually, even before then, when my library in Columbus, the main library in Columbus, Ohio, they had. they were always great about having albums for you to check out and whatever. So I had exposure to different albums and had my mom actually had take me to the store and I bought like all kinds of things over the years. And but then when I got to a certain age, I would start going to the library and I was able to access things that I had never really seen, the things I may have heard legend of. So one of those things was again because I had been introduced to the Beatles when I was younger, but I knew more of like "She Loves You" and "Twist and Shout" and things like that. When I went to the library, I started to listen to the Beatles in chronological order because they had all the albums on vinyl there. And so I was basically going through this experience almost as though I had lived through the Beatles and their active career. And so I literally was like, I went from hearing, things like uh She Loves You and all that to then getting to like Rubber Soul and Revolver and hearing things like Tomorrow Never Knows and getting into Magical Mystery Tour and Sergeant Pepper. So all that series of albums just rewired my brain where I was just like, whoa, like it really showed me that this band that we knew as one thing, all of a sudden it's just like, whoa, like what are these sounds? So just the general concept of what those guys were doing, of again, them not being put in a box. They were just like, you may want to have us be these guys, but this is this thing we want to do. We've aligned with George Martin and Jeff Emmerich, and we're doing this whole other thing. It just totally changed my whole mind. It just rewired my brain with music. So that's like the key thing that still to this day I will always forever love the Beatles. Like it's like that's my that's my group. And so that's the key thing, but then there's other things like Pixies, like all their stuff really, a lot of the textures from that, Breeders, Nirvana, The Police, Prince, mm, um, David Bowie, like there's all these people like that that really Babes in Toyland is another one. They have, like, amazing rhythm. Like, I mean, there's so much that's amazing about Babes in Toyland, but their use of rhythm and texture and all that is another thing that I love. So, it's really it. I can't say it's even specific albums. It's sometimes, like, just these I love bands that constantly it makes sense, but I love bands that constantly, um, experimented and decided to just like not be limited. So that's really it. I just like to just keep seeing those possibilities and just and I listen to a lot of like classic like old jazz, like cool jazz and stuff. So those guys were constantly reinventing everything. And so from, Lee Morgan, to, Miles Davis, Thelonious Monk, like, there's a lot of people like that too that I just constantly get my brain rewired on a regular basis.
Actually, remind me when we're talking, guys. I don't take up on time on stream, but remind me to tell you the story about the jazz bar by my house. I was
Oh,
talking
I
about with
need to
Jenny
know.
Colquitt the other day, and I got to tell you that story, but I don't want to tie up on stream for it.
Yeah.
So kind of playing into what you were just talking about. So Ember had said, what bands or artists did you love specifically when you were in college? Obviously, going to be the same things you were naming, but then the interesting part of that question being, do you love them the same way today? Or has there been things that have changed there?
Hmm. I think I appreciate it. The love is the same. I think it's just like it's a deeper love now, in a way where it's like I feel like, um, hmm. I think now, like back then, I was really listening to a lot of that stuff, more of just like full blown, just like pure enjoyment of like, I'm this young person hearing this either for the first time or just like revisiting this or whatever. And I just loved experience it, experiencing it from that context. I think now what's happening is like I think just with a lot of things that we were talking about, I've come to a lot of crossroads in my life in recent times where I've had to remind myself what I'm here for and like what really matters to me and making that conscious choice that you know what? I'm going to align myself with these guys. Like, I may not, algorithm may not love me, may not ever love me. And a lot of people out there may not ever love what I do, appreciate, and that's fine. But my thing is like, it's kind of like how I see, like, when I was like reading books as a kid of, though, to me, the one of the great things about reading is like you basically get these reminders of that somebody was here before you, and like really great books you connect with, like not just the story itself but the person writing it. When you do make that connection with it, it's like it's because that person recognized something in humanity and was able to articulate it in a way that you connected with. And that's how I see music too, and any art really, where I see that and I feel like, oh man, like I look at that music now that I listened to in college, and I just get back to that place of just trying to remember what it felt like to fall in love with those things, and remembering like, there's still some songs where I hear them and I'm like, I remember exactly where I was and what I was doing the very first time I heard that song. And that's the stuff I keep trying to reconnect with in myself. And even as I go back to my own older songs that were never ever really recorded before, like properly anyway, I'm just trying to remind myself of like what I'm here for, and put all the other stuff away, all the other sort of, I guess expectations that we put on ourselves, and of like what an artist is supposed to do now to gain interest and all that sort of stuff. I'm trying to make that secondary and just get back to, not get back, I am in that place. I'm just trying to enjoy being in that place of just enjoying the magic of music, and trying to imagine what those people were thinking when they wrote that stuff, or what they were experiencing. And understanding that it's a different era, that if those people were, I guess a lot of thing I think about too, sorry, last thing is that if a lot of those artists were releasing stuff today, they'd probably be anonymous. I don't think most of those, but that, I think about that a lot. A lot of them probably wouldn't, we wouldn't even know who they were. So I just feel very grateful that that those things still exist, and I'm able to keep getting education from it, and inspiration, you know.
So we are coming up against having to take another Twitch ad break, and I don't want to run over again since I managed to
Okay.
lose us a few listeners last time. So I am going to run another quick 2 minute break. But I figure, oh, it's absolutely. You'll kind of. I don't think John said she has a little more time, but I think we need to take a 2 minute break, and we come back, see if maybe John can play us one more song, and we
Yeah.
can answer any last minute questions. If anybody else has more questions, I know I got several folks lurking, and we got more people on Twitch that haven't chimed in yet. So if y'all want to get more questions in, we will come back after the 2 minute break. Obviously, the Twitch and or the I should say the YouTube and Facebook people on my Twitch subs won't see the break, but this way anybody who's coming in on Twitch won't get stuck with pre-rolls. So I
Okay.
apologize for that, but I got to work with what Twitch allows to pay for the bandwidth. Because Jeff Bezos doesn't have enough money. You
Nope.
know, Jeff Bezos is worth huge billions of dollars and can have penis-shaped rockets to go to Mars, but he can't let us have Twitch without ad breaks. All right, and zapping the 2 minute ad.
Let's see here.
So while that
Um,
Twitch ad break is, I'll tell you real quick, just because I was talking with Jenny on her appearance the other day. The cool thing is I found out there's a bar right up the street from me. It's just a little local beer and wing place, good local food, and they actually just rebranded about a year and a half ago, and we decided to go in and check it out because we'd gotten wings there and see if they'd done anything. And we just went on a random Tuesday night with some friends, and we go and sit down, and some musicians come in, and it's a jazz trio, all guys in their late 40s to probably mid 60s,
uh,
and they set up and just start doing some jazz. In fact, they kicked off with some Monk, and my dad's really he's a Monk fanatic, so I
oh
grew up
man.
recognizing a lot of that. Hey, Shale, welcome in. And they're just sort of jamming and playing along, and then all of a sudden, like, the door opens, and like three kids, like, I mean, like between like 13 and 15-year-old kids come in with their families and their instrument cases, and the kids
Wow.
start unpacking, and I found what they do this like basically open jazz night every Tuesday, and they'll have a trio or a quartet of kind of local, more established guys that show up. They just start gigging, and anybody is welcome to join in. And because this is a place with food, it's not just a bar. People of all ages can come in, and a lot of the young local musicians will show up with their families, and they'll come and sit in with these guys, and they'll
Oh
sit in
my
for one or
gosh.
two songs, and everybody, whatever instruments they're playing, and they just gig, and
Oh
they'll
my
and they'll
goodness.
play along, and it's like it's so cool seeing that jazz. You and I were talking about the problems of bringing in the younger people and mentoring the younger people, and it's just like so cool to see all those young people showing up and playing jazz. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, it's so cool.
I'd probably go break into tears if I saw that.
You're only a couple hours away. Come visit sometime, and we'll go to jazz night.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness.
Okay, we are back from the Twitch ad break. So let's see. I'll tell you what. I want to get one more song. Ilk threw up a question. So if you want to
What you
maybe get
got?
us one more song for us, and we can see if anybody else has any questions they want to put up while you play. We'll finish up the
Okay.
questions and then wrap up.
Okay. Let me see here. Oh, I'm so torn as to what to play now. What should we play? Hmm.
Any
Um
of any of Joms' regulars over on her Twitch have a particular song that you want to request where you know her music a little better?
let's see. Oops, hang on
I'm
here.
sitting here looking at the whole list. I've got like the big list of all of your music there. By the way, some of the people on my show caught it. So John was kind enough to send me the full thing from a recorded live performance that she did. That was the Port Authority sessions. You caught me actually playing
Oh.
some of that on stream. So um, actually, if I could make a request
What you
for one
got?
of my favorites of yours, could you play Big Sur for us?
Oh my gosh. I don't think I even I don't even know I even know how to play that song
Uh
anymore.
oh.
Oh shoot. Hmm. I started to prepare that one, but I did not do it. Yeah, oh man, I'm sorry. I let you down.
I did that to a streamer the other day. I asked for a song. She's like, "Oh my god, I haven't played that in 2 years. I don't remember how it goes."
I literally I was just like I should add that one in, but I didn't do it.
How about
Um
can we do Loch Ness?
I did not prepare that either.
Okay,
Oh my gosh.
I'll
Man.
stop and let you pick
Yeah.
one.
Let's see.
Foofer asked about Comrade Conrad.
Oh my gosh. So you really just taking back. Do I know that one? Let's see. It would help to be in tune too.
Let's all play Stump the Musician, everybody. This is probably a bit of a problem with you being the anti-Boston, and instead of putting out one album every like 85 years, putting out 4 albums in 1 year. That's a lot of music to remember.
Well, I got to get caught up now with the more recent stuff. There's still a lot of things I'm like re-releasing too. So I will have there's a co-op called Subvert that is going to be launching soon. I'm a part of this thing. So it's kind of like an alternative to Bandcamp, but it's artist owned. And there's literally like tens of thousands of artists around the world that are part of this. So it's not just me. So I will have my
Hey,
platform.
Ados.
I'll be on that platform soon, and there'll be way more releases there, and I'll have more flexibility with like pricing and adding bonuses and stuff like that, and higher quality too. I may be able to do like high res files on there. I think some of you have been asking for that for a long time. So yeah. Oh,
And
Prowler.
Shadow Wolf made a suggestion for something. If Comrade Conrad isn't working, Shadow Wolf suggested Prowler.
I can do that. That one I
Okay.
can do.
All right.
All
There's
right.
okay. We found the song she
You
can
got to
do.
do it.
Good work, chat. Good work.
Whoa. All right, here we go.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. So we got a couple more questions that have been thrown in from the crowd here. So Ilk asks, Could you mention some music or music artists that you've been listening to lately? Like there's stuff
Lately.
that you would the particular any music you would particularly recommend.
Oh my gosh. That is a really good question. Um, oh my god. Of course, that's the one thing I'm, like, drawing a blank on because I feel like I keep running into things where well, number 1 is that, um that's it is a good question. I keep coming across, like, different things on, like, just, like, randomly, like, on YouTube and that sort of thing. A lot of what I've been doing lately too is just kind of going back into the older catalog, but not catalog, but just, like, kinda going back through sort of things that I had missed the first time around, and I'm trying to think of hmm, I don't wanna hold up all your time trying to think of things. I'm having one of those Russell Brand moments. I don't know if you guys saw that. Like, no, huh. Yeah, I can't think of anything. I'm, like, drawing a complete blank right now. What are you listening to?
So that's a good question. I'll throw it up in a second. Actually, it's funny. That's one of the things that we always talk about. My with my streams, it's so crazy. My listeners are all over the board with what they listen to,
Yeah.
and we really we have a thing in my stream. We have a counter for my listeners to say when they've had a whiplash incident, because we'll go from one genre to another so quickly, and my YouTube algorithm from where I have to do YouTube stuff to find new songs, and my Spotify algorithm are just crazy because I play these requests that are all over the place. So like when you came in Friday night when we were doing that, you saw we were doing an all new music show,
Oh.
and you saw how crazy that was. That's just all the stuff in my algorithm from all the stuff. So my listeners are all over the place with that. So so and Ados, I see your question. I've got that in the queue. But the next question up was actually from Ember, and Ember asked, "What's your favorite homemade comfort food, and would you like to share the
Ooh.
recipe?"
Um, lately I've been getting into like authentic Chinese cooking. There's a family called the Lung family who they have a channel on YouTube that's called The Walks of Life, and they also have um a website with the same title, and they have a book of the same title. And there's been some experimentation of like learning how to like they basically they're I think the wife is from China in China, and the husband and the kids were all born in New Jersey, and but he grew up in a his family's Chinese restaurant, and so they have gotten together. The parents and the children have gotten together, and they share all these recipes. And it sometimes it goes beyond like Chinese cooking, but it's like it's their approach to everything. So I've been finding a lot of gems on there. In recent years, I've been learning Vietnamese cuisine and and basically this Chinese. And so those are the main things I've been doing. Like in more recent times, is that I just love it. It's simple, it's healthy, and most of the time it's quick, and it's affordable. So I love like mushu, beef mushu is like one of my favorite things. So that's like for those who don't know, it's like a Chinese pancake. What else? Sweet and sour chicken, and just been making all kinds of stuff with that. So but yeah, I love Vietnamese food, love Thai food, love French food. I love food. So- oh man.
Well, let's see. I'll have to see if I can bug you to send me a couple of recipes later. I can put them up in the
Yeah.
Discord. So yeah,
Oh,
send them over to me.
definitely.
I'll put them up in the Discord.
You
Uh,
got it.
so Shale asked, and you answered this a little bit, but this has got a little extra element that hadn't really been addressed. Shale asked, "Do you think what you listen to influences your writing, or as your style evolves, does it influence who and what you listen to?"
Hmm. Um, I think hmm, definitely influences the writing a lot. Sometimes it can be like there's an album I did called Garagio. It started out actually as a Poperratic album, but I've since thrown that under Sister Transistor because it pretty much is like almost like a lost album from the like 1960s, 1970s. And it's not I have to still I'm still working on the re-release for that. But anyway, it is kind of like hmm, it's almost like if you took a jukebox, like broke a jukebox and just had it just play random stuff from the 60s and 70s and but then maybe had like some weird signals from modern times coming in on occasion. That's basically what this album is. It's kind of all the things that inspired by the things I grew up listening to as a young kid, you know, from that era anyway. So you got runs at everything from British Invasion to disco to dub, like spaghetti westerns, proto punk, garage, Motown. There's all these, so it's got all these different flavors, and even within that, I was talking to somebody else about this like some years ago that it's like even within an individual song, like there's a couple of songs in there. There's one in particular that's called Care Devil, and it really was inspired by like the Jackson 5, but it actually ends up having like this very garage sort of feel to it. So it's like you get a little bit of this sort of like Gladys Knight and the Pips. You get Jackson 5 and you get nuggets like psychedelic garage stuff. So all of those things kind of fit together, but it's not that I planned it that way. It's just like that's just how it naturally evolved. So there's a lot of things like that where I just start hearing a melody and I'm like, oh, this kind of reminds me of Jackson 5 or whatever. And then as I start writing it and just coming up with this thing, it's like, oh, this is like taking on a whole other thing. So that's why I feel like a lot of times with whatever has become of my style, it seems like it changes, but it does come from all these different places and they end up being worked into to some sort of weird hybrid sound, I guess. But in terms of like what I actually listen to, I think it has in the sense that I tend to do a deep dive when I really get inspired by something or I'm learning about an artist. I try to learn it. Oh, I know that Angine de Poutine. That's one that I lately I've been. You were asking about a recent band that I been digging. That those guys are amazing. There's a bunch of
We
math.
actually had somebody request them, and we played one of their tracks on stream the other day.
Oh man, that's they've been blowing my mind. So that's definitely one where I'm just like, what am I listening to? This is amazing. So, but say someone like that, I'm gonna dive in further of like who inspires Angine de Poutine, and from there find out like that'll probably lead me down a rabbit hole of new things to listen to. So that's how things tend to work with me. It's like I start learning about oh who influenced this person or what were they doing when they were younger when they first started playing, and it ends up or like who else did they record, who guested on that album, who did they co-write that songs with or whatever, and it leads me down this whole other rabbit hole of like what I end up discovering um to listen to. And then there's even things like say when I listen to hip hop, just listening to like samples, like say, you know, whether it be, I don't know, Dr. Dre or Beastie Boys or something like that, just listening to like, oh, well, that's a cool sample. Where did that come from? And then going through like say the Genius website or whatever, finding out who sampled that, you know, like where do those samples come from? Who else sampled that? What else? And then who played on those records? Yeah, who wrote that? So yeah, it's just that's why I said I love music. I love the process of just keep discovering all this. It's just a never ending thing. So I just still feel really excited and fortunate that we do have access to technology to be able to keep digging up exposure, you know, exposing ourselves to all these different amazing things that are out there. So I still got it. There's a lot of newer artists that I still need to. It's just like I said, it is. it can be overwhelming because, and I get it from even from an artist standpoint of like why it's not easy sometimes for people to find us because it's like there's just so much stuff out there. It's more releases than there have ever been in history. But anyway, I'm trying to do the best I can to stay abreast of what's going on and still keep trying to just explore different sounds out there. Yeah.
Ilk actually had thrown in that they said that they've been listening to a lot of Hiroshi
Oh.
Yoshimura's album Wetland. We've actually
Oh.
requested a few of those tracks on stream, and we played some of those. A duo called Greenhouse and a band called the Bell Tower. So some
Oh.
stuff that Ilk was
Making
in
some notes.
answer to your question about what they're listening to. So oh, by the way, for some of the folks that did come in late, so my regular show tonight is 9 p.m. to 1 a.m. U.S. Eastern. That will be on my new Twitch channel as well as on my new Kick channel, I should say, as well as on Twitch. That will not be live on Facebook and YouTube because I can't go live there. But we will be rerunning Joms' appearance during the show. So if you missed anything, you can catch it then. We'll do the first hour of music like normal. Oh, Ados! Ados is being too
I
kind.
know.
Ados has been gifting people on Twitch subs. He's been
Oh.
gifting subscriptions to people, which lets them watch ad free and get emotes and stuff. Thank you,
Oh.
Ados. That is
Thank
extremely
you.
kind of you. Thank you, thank you. So yeah, there's paid subscribers on Twitch don't have to watch the ads, and then they also get access to extra emojis and stuff. And there's other little perks that you get for being a subscriber. So,
Ah.
but yeah, so if you're but for those of you that are listening that are on Joms' side on her YouTube, you do not have to be a member on Kick or Twitch if you want to come and check out the show and catch anything you missed. You can just go to twitch.tv/DJ or kick.com/DJ and you can watch and listen to catch anything that you missed. You don't have to sign up and be a member. You just won't be able to be active in chat if you're not a member. The only thing you have to be a
Okay.
member to do is to be active in chat, but you can come and listen and watch and catch anything you missed that way. So that'll give you an
Yeah.
opportunity to catch up if you missed it. And we'd love to have you come hang out. So it's usually a good time.
Yeah.
Um, so we had a couple more questions, and then we probably do need to wrap
Okay.
up. So I have time to actually get some dinner before I have to come back and do the
Yeah.
next show. So Ados asked, "What was the inspiration for the for Prowler?"
Oh. Um. Proud. Actually, it was one day I was listening to like just you know a classic radio station, and Warren Zevon's Werewolves of London came on, and I just thought it was really interesting that he wrote this song that had this howling in it. And I was just like, I basically was just like, that's just really cool. You don't hear that often of like people just doing like animal sounds in a song. And that was really it. I just had that thought just sitting with me. And I just remember walking around and I think I was in the shower and just was kind of like, I think I was trying to remember the melody for his song and it didn't quite, just it just kind of slipped my mind, and I ended up just kind of coming up with this sort of ooh, ooh, this sort of thing. And then I at the time I also was experimenting with like I was learning how to tap like Eddie Van Halen style. I'm not like an expert at it, but I was like just trying to understand that technique of like how does that work? So in the process of trying to figure out how tapping works, I came up with this little sort of and it just kind of went from there. I started getting I also had a drum machine at the time because I guess I didn't have acoustic drums. So I just started playing around with like programming a bass line, and it's literally that's it. Everything just started to come together just from that seed of the listening to Werewolves of London. Is it called Werewolves of London?
Yeah, that's the
It
song.
was, okay. That's why I was like,
So
am I confusing that with,
I got to tell
okay.
you, it would be absolutely hilarious. You and I were talking about Philly last night. You know, the original Leho Fuchs in London is closed. They closed up about 5 years ago. But Leho Fuchs had opened a second location in Philadelphia, and it's still open in Chinatown in Philadelphia.
Oh,
I've actually eaten there. It would be absolutely hilarious to come up if you and I ever got to go hang out in Philadelphia and actually like me have me film you around there and go inside, get some beef Johnny, and I'll like do like a video for Prowler and film it around Leo folks. Just that would be absolutely hilarious to do that.
All right, you got to put a pin in it.
Yeah. Okay, so we got 2 more questions. Shadow Wolf asked, Ilk, I saw that. Yeah, I read that out, Ilk. I read out what you'd said about the artist that you like. And so she saw that, and I read it. You mentioned the Hiroshi Yoshimura, and also Greenhouse and Bell Tower. Yeah, I read that out.
Yeah, I got that written down too.
So, Shadow Wolf asked when you were talking about the other thing there. He asked if you'd considered a Bandcamp. Saying knows a lot of artists that have had great success there, and they can offer you pretty much every file format. I know a lot of artists that I follow use Bandcamp.
So that's the thing. That's what Subvert is for. Bandcamp has changed from an artist standpoint. Bandcamp has changed hands a bunch of times, and with that, they've changed their policies a lot in ways that actually are not always good for artists. I think artists that have been on there for a long time, it is still helpful to them, but there's a lot of things that are not very helpful. And I think even like their AI policies and things, there's things like that that are not that are just not good. And then I think also just like payout and there's a number of things that users have been frustrated with. So anyway, Subvert, we're trying, and also just independent artists really don't really have a whole lot of say in what actually happens with Subvert. It's just like a lot of corporate decisions that don't always reflect what independent artists need. So that's why Subvert, we really would like to just bring it back, put that power back into the hands of independents and build a platform that we want and that allows us to connect to our audience the way that we want to. And so, of course, it's going to take time for that to really take off and get people really to be aware of it and that sort of thing. But we're hoping that it will be seen as a good alternative, and not necessarily that, there'll be a place for Bandcamp too out there, but I just prefer to be on a platform that is built by independents for independents and serves independents and people who love music. So, yeah.
And Ados also asked, what song of yours has the weirdest origin story?
Oh, Frocks. That's an easy answer. I'll quickly do that. So Frocks is a song from May that it actually stemmed from a script that Lucky McKee was working on. It's like this fantasy thing. It was basically his idea that if he had all the money in the world, this is the thing that he would make. It's like it's his sort of like Jim Henson's The Dark Crystal sort of thing. And it's just amazing story. He was writing it in college, and it's still one of my favorite things of his I've ever read. And so I always had that story.
Give me, hang on just 1 second. I'm just gonna throw that on a little bit in the background. I'm gonna turn the volume down. So you can talk.
Okay.
This is the song she's talking about.
Oh, you got it. Okay.
Yeah, I think I have most of your catalog. Okay, go ahead.
And so that one, I had always had his story in my head in terms of like, I just love, that's just my favorite thing that he's written. So when May was actually, the movie May was in production, he called me one day and was just like, oh shoot, we forgot, we are shooting, in a couple of days, we're shooting the scene with the at the daycare center, and we need the kids to be able to sing to a children's song. Do you have anything sitting there already? And I was just like, no, but I'll write something, and I was just like, what kind of tone do you want? He's just like, whatever you want. And I said, I think it would be interesting. I remember when he's got the whole world in his hands. When I was a little kid, I'm sure you probably, all of you too, he's got the whole world in his hands. He's got the whole world. So that song, in subtle ways, used to kind of creep me out as a child, because I was like, literally, as my little child brain, I was like picturing all of us just like crammed in some guy's hands, like, so that visual always like stuck with me every time I hear that song. So when he talked about And I also, when I thought reflected back again of like types of children's songs that they used to play on like the little record players when we would have like activities in like kindergarten, first grade, that sort of thing. I remember there's a lot of those songs that if you listen to them today, it's like that's borderline creepy. And so, so I asked him if he would be open to like if me sort of playing with that idea of like, can I do something that would be like a little bit darker? You know, he's like, yeah, go for it. So it was more of a surprise. Like this particular one, I wrote this one first. I wrote Frocks is the first version of what I was pitching to him. And I didn't tell him what I was doing. I just wanted it to be a surprise, like a little in joke between us because it was his story. And I didn't say what it was about. I just wanted him to just listen to the lyrics. And so anyway, long story short, he loved it. And I basically I sung it in this weird sort of like altar boy voice and and just try to make it as like sort of creepy as possible. And anyway, long story short, that 4-track version, that's it. The demo that I gave him, that's the one that's in the movie. So that's the exact recording that I gave him that day. Uh so anyway, yeah, that's the weirdest origin story.
Very cool. So, by the way, I can't promise because we ran kind of late tonight, so I don't know if I'll have time to do it. But I will try to get. I think there's a way I can export a track list for everybody for my people on Discord of all of Joms's tracks that I have available, so you can at least see what the song titles are if you want to request any of her songs during the Singers and Songwriters show tonight. And like I said, for any of her people that are listening, I threw up the thing in Joms's stream on her YouTube, so you can see to join the Discord. And like I said, you can find me anywhere if you want to come hang out. It's just all at DJ Kid Gorgeous PE. So we probably should wrap up, so I do have time to get a quick bite to eat and get a couple of things reset.
Yeah.
But so yeah, like I said, tonight regular time for those of you on my end that are what do you call it, that are going to be here for the stream. We're doing singers and songwriters, so we're going to do requests for the first hour. We're not really doing up tempo and mellow hour tonight because singers and songwriters are kind of all over the place. So we'll do the first hour with requests and songs. Hey Veda, how you doing? That's okay. We're going to have a rerun during the regular show tonight, so you'll be able to catch it. But we will have the regular show from 9 to 10. At 10, we'll do the rerun, which will run us somewhere into after 11 p.m. And then we'll just do more requests and more singer-songwriter stuff that I pick out around your requests until 1 a.m. As normal. And for any of those of you on the Jom's side that want to come hang out, like I said, just find me at DJ Kid Gorgeous PE everywhere. Would love to have you come hang out with us. Regular shows are every Sunday and Tuesday night, the first Saturday of every month. We do themes on most Sunday nights. Most other nights are open, and we always play requests. And as you can see, we feature lots and lots of indie musicians. So that is a big thing. We're always looking for new artists, people that are looking for a break. And thank you to everybody for coming out today and supporting independent music. Makes a big difference for the indie artists for people to come and support like that. And I'm going to let Joms throw out something herself. Any last statement while I put up links for her?
Yeah, I was gonna say thank you all again for being here. Just really appreciate the support for myself and also James, what he's doing, DJ Kid Gorgeous. Definitely please check out his work. And he himself is a multi-creative and he's doing a lot of amazing work on of his own and in favor of in support of other independent artists. I actually prepared like a crazy amount of songs for you guys tonight. So I may maybe just randomly stream those like sometime this week, and maybe I'll learn some of the other songs that you guys requested
Hey,
and
if you
put
ever
stuff
if
up.
you ever want to set up and do a pop up, now that we have all the tech bugs worked
Ah,
out, and just come on without doing an interview thing and just play for a little while and piggyback, you're more than welcome to come on and do if you want to do that,
all
and
right, let's
obviously
do
play
it.
for you guys and set up. I am more than happy to host that for my stuff too.
Oh shoot, let's do it. Yep,
I'm just
whenever it's
putting your links
convenient
up.
for you.
So, and real quick, actually, the other thing there was so while I'm doing the putting up the links, so what is happening? I mean, what is the next big thing? What's the immediate future for you that's
Um,
going on?
that's really it. It's like, there's the whole subvert thing, so that'll be launching sometime soon. So I'm going to keep doing that. We'll see what's going on with all these tariffs and all that sort of stuff because I have for vinyl the only supplier I have is in the UK, so that I know that's not going to work for a lot of people in terms of trying to, because it's already expensive trying to get vinyl over. But anyway, I'm just trying to figure out alternate ways of like releasing music. And I'm trying to get settled somewhere in some city, either in the somewhere in the United States or in another country. We'll see. But I would like to get back out full blown, like playing live shows again. And I think like this is something that's really opened my mind of like, you know what, maybe I should start doing regular streams and just to be able to connect with people that I normally wouldn't be able to see, you know, and see me. So anyway, so that's the main thing is I just want to keep pushing forward, and those are the main things is just trying to uh just keep sharing with whoever wants to listen. So but definitely if any of you see things where you feel like I don't know, you want me to check out some other platform or there's something else that you're interested in seeing or hearing, like my door is open and I love hearing from you all. So once again, thanks for being here tonight. It's very inspiring. So
Well, thank you very much, and thank you everybody that hung out. For my regular people, hopefully you'll see you all back here tonight at 9 p.m. for the melange. And any of you that missed any of this, you'll be able to catch the repeat with Joms. So, and it's going to be exactly like what we did with the previous artist features. We'll get an edited video up on my channels where you'll be able to go back and see the show minus the musical numbers because of copyright restrictions, but the videos of the musical numbers, like with Jenny's and Carrie Ann's music, will be available to play during the show. So you'll have opportunities for that. As soon as I go get a quick bite to eat, I'll get everything up in the Discord for tonight, and I will have a list up of all of Joms' music so you can see the titles if you want to request any of her stuff during regular stream tonight. So, thank you, everybody. Much, much appreciated to everybody for being
thank
here.
you.
Oh, one request. That's a very good
Yeah.
question. Last second there. Ados says if we want to purchase music, what's the best way currently to
Oh,
do that?
so that Subvert is going to be the best because it you know, it's just like a direct artist owned thing. So but beyond that, I mean, I'm on all the major platforms like, you know, Apple, Amazon, but like I said, this Subvert is going to be the best way to do it. I may actually launch something directly on my website soon too, but anyway,
Does
I'm
your website
yeah.
have links to all the platforms? Because I did link your website.
If it's not there, I will double check it tonight, make sure everything's there.
Okay, yeah.
So,
So I'm
yeah.
looking, and there is if on Joms' website, Art Mechanics, which I did link, there is a shop section and everything, so you should be able to find most of it through that. So cool, very cool. All right, thank you everybody. Thank you so much.
All right.
And
Thank you. Thank
yeah,
you.
and I did post Joms' Blue Sky as well. Plus, obviously, I know how to reach her. So if any more questions pop up, let us know. And if you see Art Mechanics in the Twitch chat, that is her.
Oh, I
So,
changed it to Poperratic actually
oh, you
today.
changed it to Poperratic. So if you see
Yeah.
Poperratic in the Twitch chat, that is her. Okay, very nice. Thank you,
Uh,
everybody. And I'm going to
Thank
go
you
get some
guys.
food,
Mwah.
and I will see you all back here in about an hour and a half. Thank you to everybody on Joms' YouTube that joined us.
Yes,
Hope to
thank
see you
you
all
all.
around. Thank you all so
All
much.
right.
And Ados, extra big special thank you for giving out all those subs to people. Big
Yes,
time thank
thank
you for
you.
helping out the
Mwah.
channel.
Thank you.
All right, thanks everybody. Night night.